This is a question that probably gets asked in California all the time, namely in Sacramento. Who can take Darren Elkins the most? That's the question for this fight. Who can take the most damage? We have the Vanilla Gorilla, Chase Sherman, taking on one of John Jones' former opponents, Parker Porter. Matt, this fight at heavyweight, I think it's insane that this is so high up on the card. But for Parker Porter, great opportunity for New Britain, Connecticut's own. Matt, they're the New Britain Yard Goats now. It used to be...
Let's go.
Who was it, the Rock Cats? What was their AA baseball team in New Britain? Comment down below. But this is a guy that trains out of Underdog Mixed Martial Arts, and perennially an underdog is Parker Porter. A lot of people are surprised when he did end up making it into the UFC because he lost to Keith Bell a little while ago. He beat Kevin Sears. He beat Durley. Broenstrup, which was a weird fight because if you look at Broenstrup's overall record, it was a little salty, even though it was a nice winning record. Loses in impressive fashion to Chris Dawkins, and then he ends up beating Josh Parisian. The big comeback story for Chase Sherman. He's out of the UFC. He has great wins with the Island fights. Boom. He's back on the marquee. He beats Ike Villanueva. He looks amazing. And then he takes on Andrei Arlovsky. And he just kind of got out-vetted in that fight.
It's a weird fight because Andrei Arlovsky's had a lot of these fights. I would say kind of like the post-long losing streak of his career.
Like against Tanner Boser.
Exactly. He did have this streak where he has a lot of close fights. And even in the Boser fight, you can make an argument for Tanner Boser. But I don't really think Chase Sherman had much of an argument after that fight. Like, that was a pretty clear-cut win for Andrei Arlovsky. And he won that fight doing those classic Andrei Arlovsky things. Throwing in volume, doing that little shuffle and whatnot. Throwing a lot of jabs. And the weird thing for Chase Sherman was that you just kind of assumed youth would be on his side. And we've seen Andrei Arlovsky lose, 45 fights now? You just thought, okay, Chase Sherman would be able to land that big shot. But he never made any adjustments. And this is the problem with Chase Sherman. You bring up the Island fights. Yeah, they're good. You kind of glossed over the uncomfortable BKFC career where he had some, disturbingly close fights with guys who were part-time fighters.
The craziest thing, and you talk about game plans. So Chase Sherman, for his last fight and getting ready, he was training at Elevation. He was training at a really, really good gym. And it was just odd to see the way that it played out because I thought, okay, this is the move. And I just wanted to say that because he's training at a Sanford MMA for this one.
Which is normally a great sign. But again, I feel like... do you think Chase Sherman's gotten any better since his UFC 211 win over Rashad Coulter? And be honest.
I think he's incorporated more volume into his game.
Okay, but we can both agree that largely he is still the same fighter from he was back then. Chase Sherman's like a Ben Simmons who never made an all-star game to begin with. Chase Sherman's game has not evolved, although he has gone to different gyms. I don't think Chase Sherman, all of a sudden, now that he's training with Sanford MMA, is going to look like Brendan Allen, to where it's like, oh shit, your striking's gotten very good in such a short amount of time. I don't think Chase Sherman will. I still think he's going to throw, good volume for the heavyweight division, but nothing that's going to, blow your hair back or anything. And he's got good but not great leg kicks. And that's the other thing about Chase Sherman. He has good leg kicks, but he doesn't throw them nearly enough. It's one of his better weapons, and when he does use it a lot in his fights, you can tell that they take an immediate effect on his opponent. But it's one of those tools that he just doesn't seem to go to. It's kind of like Jose Aldo at bantamweight. He can throw them. He's just more than happy to check them, I guess. The difference is Chase Sherman defensively isn't that good. So for me, I guess it's, will the Parker Porter who beat Josh Parisian, can that guy beat Chase Sherman? I think he probably can, but again, with Chase Sherman, I always do go back to that Rashad Coulter win, to where he did look kind of good in that fight. He was light on his feet, he moved around quite a bit, and honestly, he kind of reminded me of, and you're not going to like this, but he reminded me a little bit of Cyril Gane. He moved a lot for a heavyweight. Now, I understand Cyril Gane is the Hall of Fame level of it, but Chase Sherman, he was a smaller heavyweight. He threw kicks. He moved. It just wasn't something that you saw a lot in the UFC, even in 2016, and I thought it might separate him from at least the average unranked heavyweight. It never did. And again, that's the problem I keep on going back to with Chase Sherman. Look at the Justin Willis fight. Look at the Walt Harris fight. And I understand Walt Harris is still a decent fighter in the UFC, but he's just never been able to make the improvements. And I just look at him as, yes, I will admit he has high volume, but he's just a hittable heavyweight at the end of the day.
Well, the weird thing for Chase Sherman, you bring it up. I mean, you talk about it. There's different players out there on the NBA 2K games that are not meant to have Hall of Fame badges. If you really think about it, I mean, who can we say? A Jose Calderon, if he has a Hall of Fame ball handling.
He would have Hall of Fame dimer.
That's it. It's really weird, but when you look at it for Chase Sherman, those leg kicks are great. Use them against Villanueva. Villanueva's susceptible, and then he slows right down and they hurt him badly. Can he do it against a guy like Parker Porter? I'm willing to say that he can,
maybe,
but it's really, really difficult, Matt. When we look at the odds, what do we have for Chase Sherman? What do you think about that? He opened a minus 155. He's a minus 188. Parker Porter opened a plus 135. He's a plus 155 right now. Over on Topology, surprise to me, surprise to you, is there to you. 1,156 total votes. 88% Sherman, 75% by knockout. For the 12% that have Porter, 43% by knockout. Parker Porter has not taken on the same level of guy, except for John Jones, that Chase Sherman has, the level of guy in the UFC, because he's only had 2 fights. One against Dawkins, who's very good, and one against Josh Parisian, who's Josh Parisian out of Michigan. So when I look at this one, I like Chase Sherman. I think Henry Hoof's probably going to accentuate the leg kicks.
You're probably right.
Training with Steve Mowry and training with Linton Vassell, those are good guys up at the weight class to get ready for this fight. Parker Porter's got an overhand chance, but I like Chase Sherman with the volume. Don't necessarily like how his defense is just pull my head back.
Yeah.
Just pull my head back. That's how you get cracked by a right hand and knocked out. But for Chase Sherman, I still like him in this fight, but I do worry.
Yeah, I'll pick Chase Sherman. Not a lot of confidence behind the pick, and the fact that he's almost a 2-1 favorite is ridiculous. This fight is as much of a coin flip as any other one on the card, because it is. Parker Porter could land a big shot and put Chase Sherman into next week with it, or Chase Sherman could kind of pitter-patter, and use those leg kicks to full effect. I'll pick Chase Sherman because I guess his cardio is something I can hold on to and say, like, well, this is definitely better than Parker Porter's. But yeah, this is a tough fight to be so far up on the card.
Pitter-patter, let's get at her. Letterkenny, Chase Sherman, Matt, is who we're going with. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have. Great fights. Up at the top, UFC Hall of Famer Clay Guida. Olympic silver medalist Mark Madsen. Wrestler's Paradise. And in the main event, Jared Cannonier taking on Kelvin Gastelum. I can't wait for it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say. Let's get into it.